All right, I'd like to speak a little bit about the Community Revitalization Levy, or CRL. Just so everybody understands, essentially what it is, pardon me, is it's money loaned from the province to the city to improve districts. We saw in the East Village, obviously, to what some would say resounding success thus far.
Same basis upon the Edmonton deal was built.
Right.
Yeah.
So the city then repays this 20-year loan through property taxes from new developments in the revitalization zone.
Correct.
Okay, so now with that said, like I mentioned, with the success of the East Village, do we think this should act, for the province to give them, I guess, confidence in the West Village, that by providing this levy to the West Village, you know what, it's a profitable endeavor. It is something that's going to work down the road, and this would include, of course, the $240 million.
Okay, so let's clarify. It's not a levy. It is. There's no additional tax. What it is a portion of the tax that will be generated, number one. Number two, you have to prove it out. You have to get a hotel or an office tower or a condo. Our independent evaluation, not independent, we had it evaluated, but by an independent source, thinks that there's about $900 million in community revitalization levy funding there. Some people have thought, well, if there's only $240 million and you're taking it all, there's nothing left for services and that type of thing. But there is a considerable amount of surplus property tax. So it's a property tax. East Village was built on the Bow Tower, $10 or $11 million a year in property tax over 20 years, $200 million. They transferred that into infrastructure. East Village now is a beautiful project. And we think the same kind of idea can take place in West Village. I
have to agree. And to be honest, I'm a little bit confused. I mean, you jump on social media, Twitter, whatnot, you see there's a lot of detractors. A lot of people are fired up that, this is public money for private gain. When at the end of the day, a levy like that benefits, I guess I'm just missing it. It benefits us all.
Well, I think the wrong question has always been taxpayers' money for hockey players. That's not what this is about.
No, I think it's a misguided point of view. Yeah,
huge legacy project for Calgary. Yeah. So the Fieldhouse money is taxpayers' money, but the Fieldhouse is going to be built. All we're doing is accelerating it a bit. Maybe we're not even accelerating it. I think they're going to do it. Yeah. They're going to find funding for it. That leaves the CRL, which, by the way, if we don't do this, it doesn't exist. Now, the harshest critics would say, well, someday somebody's going to develop something there. And we would say, well, who and when? Yeah. And have it compete with us, because we think we have a great idea. So if somebody has a better idea, then we'd be happy to compete with that idea. It's got to be good for our city. It has to exist. You can't get $240 million on a promise. No. You gotta demonstrate the efficacy of the CRL.
Parking. Now, it's been an issue of contention. I heard 2,500 spots. Uber drivers are going to be fired up. They're going to be pumped to hear that. Is that the case?
You know what? We have 2,000 to 4,000 spots at the Scotiabank Saddledome. Yeah. We never have 4,000. That's the maximum because there's always something else going on. There are 1,800 spots at McMahon Stadium. 1,800. Yeah. Okay. So the reason the parking controversy started was my fault. When I first introduced this, somebody asked about parking. I said, oh, heck, don't worry about that. We've got the LRT. You can park in your office towers. I think they were naturally thinking I was sort of fobbing it off. We have to have adequate parking. It's in our interest to have adequate parking.
Yeah, I would think so.
Imagine if we didn't. It would hurt our business. Yeah. It would hurt the success of the entire project. So parking is not a concern for us. Now, you probably will be parkades, underground and above ground, and it probably won't be conducive to tailgating for Stampeders games, but maybe there's a different answer to that too.
So to be clear, plenty of parking?
Lots of parking.
Okay. Now, from a distance, to me, I mean, the project, it does make sense for the city. I mean, the West Village land is going to sell to developers if CalgaryNext is announced to be built there for top dollar, I would think. Repayment of the revitalization zone in 20 years, obviously city budgets are going to enjoy a huge influx in property tax revenues.
We're going to have a lifetime of property tax.
What is the city's major concern that's been communicated to you thus far?
Actually, I've been pretty happy. They've been very open-minded about this. I think they're going to cleave to the notion that it's a good idea and that, frankly, we should do it. But in fairness to them, they had a plan. In 2010, there was an area structure plan put together and approved by City Council to build the neighborhood. And by the way, it included cleaning up the creosote.
On the city dime.
Yep,
Wow.
and also developing East Village from a residential standpoint. So what we've really done is said, well, how about looking at our option as an opportunity?
Yeah.
That wasn't the original plan, but look at it as an opportunity to accelerate things a little bit, changes things a little bit, but really the fundamentals are that West Village is a beautiful piece of property that needs to become, it's been economically sterile for 30 years.
I think
It needs to be put
it'd be hard to argue that its destiny is to be 2 car dealerships and a bus depot. You know?
I don't think even the car
Doesn't add up.
dealerships and the bus depot would argue that point.
Yeah.
They have always understood that at some point this is going to be developed.
Folks, we're going to check in with the Rand Pack one final time. Stay with us.
I think to get a new arena, a new stadium is absolutely awesome. Not even just for the Flames, but just for even concert goers. Like, we all know that the Saddle Dome is absolutely atrocious for sound. That being said, I don't know if the location is good. Like, the floods just happened, and now we're going back on the floodplains in the area that was really devastated. So I don't know if the location itself is a good idea. I saw a couple newspaper articles about the reaction from a couple engineers saying that it's really bad news to put it in that area right there. But I do think that it's something that the city could rally around. It's something that we love our sports here. The Calgary Stampeders have been killing it for 5 or 6 years, so to reward them with a new stadium, state of the art, I think is amazing.
If you like, Ken, I'll give you the opportunity to respond to Ike.
Well, I liked everything he said. We talked about that location
Yeah.
situation before. I think it needs to be more clearly understood. And when the city does their evaluation, I think that will become clear that it's an ideal piece. We don't exacerbate any problem there. We don't create any greater problem than would otherwise exist for that 2010 plan or anything else.
Yeah.
So I'm down with what Ike's got to say about that. I appreciate it. He's obviously seems like he's enthusiastic about our teams, and particularly the Stampeders. And the whole thing is to get people like him and others to advocate. You asked about the city's position. I think they need to be respectful, and they need to be careful. This is a huge, huge project.
Oh, truly.
So we need to get it right. I have no qualms at all that they want to look very
Take
closely
the time
at
and
it.
get it
Yep,
done.
you bet.
Building lifespan, I mean, what can we expect out of
You know what?
CalgaryNext?
The building technology now is much different than it was before. When we first started talking about replacing the Scotiabank Saddle Dome, people said, well, gee, we just built it.
Just.
So that was 7 years ago. It's 7 years hence.
Yeah.
We're now talking at least 5 or 6 or 7 years out. So you're kind of 40 plus years. I think we can do better than that. I think with new building technology and new materials that we can have a much, much longer lifespan for them. I don't want to make a prediction about
No,
what
it's
that
tough. I
might
can
be, but I
appreciate
think
that,
it'll be
yeah.
considerably longer than all of the North American existing buildings seem to have endured.
Fair enough. Who would be responsible if it were to happen? Any cost run overages for construction? Who's picking up the tab?
Well, I don't want to start negotiating here, but if I were the city, I think that they would want us to be.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably appropriate. If I'm on that side of the table, that's what I'm thinking.
McMahon and the Saddle Dome. You know, if things do go the way that many people hope they do, and CalgaryNext does come to fruition, what's the plan for those two spaces?
Well, I think McMahon decision is a little easier. I think that's a beautiful piece of property that's owned by the University of Calgary.
Yeah.
And I think it's a huge opportunity for them. Not for me to determine
No,
what
fair enough,
their
sure.
best priorities and opportunities are, but it's a gorgeous piece of land.
Yeah.
So I think they can monetize that to the benefit of the university. In terms of the Scotiabank Saddle Dome, the foundation has been charged with coming up with a committee to look at repurposing it for other uses. That work hasn't actually begun yet, but it's going to begin quite quickly. We're funding a portion of that, and we're going to look at ideas about how can you use it and extend its useful life without burdening taxpayers or anybody else with the cost of operating it.
That's probably smart, yeah. Is there any wiggle room on the cost, or is this, this is the best that we can expect, cost-wise?
In terms of a lower cost?
Yeah.
I don't think so. although we've got some very innovative and some very creative designs, obviously if we could do it for less, we would.
Yeah.
I think the key is to keep it at the level it is. There's a lot of people in the construction world, or perhaps not the construction world, that believe, well, you can't ever do anything on budget, you can't ever do anything on time. You can.
Yeah.
Calgary City Library is going to be on time and on budget. No choice. There isn't any
a good
more
example.
money.
Yeah.
Our model supports $890 million. It doesn't support $990 million. It doesn't support $1 billion.
Yeah.
So we need to work hard, do the upfront work to make sure that this thing can happen on time and on budget.
Is there a plan B?
No.
No,
And
short answer.
people look at me incredulously, well, what kind of a buffoon would not have a plan B? Plan B will exist on the day that we declare Plan A a dead duck.
Yeah.
And I hope that day does not come. But if you've got this and this, I think other people may have a Plan B, but you've got then competing visions. Mm-hmm. And it's tough enough to have everybody understand what we're trying to do here, then say,
Yeah.
well, do you like this one or do you like this one? Plan B, if it ever exists, will begin the day we declare failure on Plan A.
You know, and I think there is an element of Calgarians who can respect that. You know, you can realize that, look, this is the best plan available right now, the way you see it. It's one that can work feasibly. Are you confident? Are things going to come together?
You know what? I feel better every day. Maybe I'm just optimistic, but nothing good is easy.
Yeah.
We have dozens of legitimate challenges from different places, but that's what happens when you take on ambitious projects. So, but we've got immensely talented people in the city and elsewhere to help us deal with those challenges. So, I feel really comfortable. It's going to be tough.
Yeah, sure.
It's going to be difficult. Even remembering, we're just trying to get to the starting line here.
Yeah, that's right.
To
that's
figure out if we can do this.
Yeah.
If we embrace the idea conceptually, I believe we can actually execute physically.
Well, I wish you all the best of luck.
Thank
And
you. I
Thanks,
appreciate
thanks
it.
very much for being here today.
I love the opportunity to chat with your viewers.
Cheers. Folks, that's all the time we've got for tonight. As per usual, you can get at us on Facebook. We're on Twitter as well. Don't be a stranger. Until next week, take care.